Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speedbuilding video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video, I'm going to be building in the world of Mount Komorebi, which is the world that we got from the expansion pack, The Sims 4 Snowy Escape, and I'm going to be building a mountain ski lodge cabin rental kind of thing. So I still don't even know what to class this build as. It's kind of like a ski and snowboarding cabin in the world of Mount Komorebi. Either way, I'm so excited to sit down and do this voiceover because I'm not joking when I tell you, I've been wanting to build something like this for the longest time and I've never been able to actually do something that I actually like enough to actually share, because pretty much ever since the Snowy Escape expansion pack came out, which was like what, 2 years ago or something, I've been wanting to build a mountain lodge in this kind of like Japanese style and make it like a snowy cabin. But I've just never been able to make it work. Honestly, the amount of different attempts you should have seen me do, and they've just been scrapped. And I've just never been able to actually build something that I was completely like 100% happy with. And I'm being serious when I say that I've probably I've probably attempted about 10, maybe even more different builds in this kind of style in this area of the world to try and build like a rental cabin in the snow, but also try and make it seem like it was authentic to the world and it fitted in with the rest of the world and it was kind of a nice Japanese style. I've tried so many, it's actually embarrassing the amount of different attempts that I've had. But this week I sat down and I've really made it my mission to build something like this, because I really want to start filling up this little area of the world in my save file, and I made it my mission and I'm so happy. And I'm also really proud of the way this build just came together, and I'm really happy and proud of it. So I really hope you guys like it. But anyway, getting on from that and actually talking a little bit more about the build itself. So this lot is built on a 30 by 20 lot and it ends up having 2 bedrooms and 1.5 bathrooms. Now, in terms of how many different Sims this rental can accommodate for, it can accommodate up to 4 Sims. Now, in terms of the actual size of the rental itself, it's not actually that big. I feel like if you look at this from the outside, it looks absolutely massive. It's not. On the inside, there ends up being the lounge in a separate little outbuilding, because it's actually quite, it's comfortable, it's cozy on the inside, I'll say that. But I feel like if you're playing with maybe like a single Sim or a couple, or maybe even like a smaller family, it is kind of like an ideal rental. Because the thing is, where I'm building this for my save, I want there to be loads of different rentals with loads of different rooms to accommodate loads of different families. So no matter the world that I'm building in, whether I'm building in the world of Selvdorado or if I'm building in Granite Falls, anywhere that there's going to be rentals in my save, I want there to be rentals that have different numbers of bedrooms. So say for instance, you want to take your Sims on holiday but you've only got a single Sim, there will be a bungalow or there'll be a small little rental that only accommodates like 1 or 2 Sims, and then there'll be like a bigger sized family home, and then there'll be maybe even bigger sized one of them. Like, I want there to be a range. I want there to be loads of different rentals of loads of different sizes. And I think in terms of the save, I think this would probably end up being the smallest rental in the world of Mount Komorebi, because even though it can accommodate to 4 Sims, when I was building this, I was thinking that this could also be a really good location if your Sims want to maybe come on like their honeymoon or something, because I feel like it ends up being a little bit romantic on the inside. It wasn't my intention by any means, it was just when I came in and I started taking the screenshots, I noticed how just cozy and how romantic it actually felt on the inside, especially the bathroom, which I feel like if you've got a room to be romantic, it's probably not more so going to be a bathroom where you've got a toilet in it. But the way that I did the bathroom situation in this build, there's a little tiny toilet downstairs, like a little tiny toilet and a sink for if your Sims have maybe been on the slopes, they need to pop into the cabin, they need to have a wee. There's a tiny little bathroom downstairs, but then on the upstairs portion, there ends up being 2 rooms for like the bathroom items. So we have one room which is dedicated to be for the bathtub and the shower. In there, really romantic, wasn't my intention, but it was something that I noticed when I was taking the screenshots. And then there is a separate room off that, which ends up being a little room that has a toilet and then a sink in, because from what I've learned from doing previous builds in the world of Mount Komorebi and kind of like asking people for like general just help to educate me, and then also just trying to educate myself on Google, I've learned that you have more so like 2 separate rooms for like bathroom items in Japan. So you're more so going to have a separate room that the toilet's going to be in, and then a separate room for where the shower and the bathtub is going to be, if that makes any sense. Either way, that's what's going on the inside of this build. But yeah, it ends up being quite romantic, and I feel like quite a good little honeymoon vacation spot. I mean, I'm definitely going to bring bigger my Sims here, because I've been needing to also build something like this for not only my save file, not only for all of you to download and enjoy, but also I've been really wanting something like this in my own personal gameplay, and so I'm really happy and also really excited to actually get my Sims to come on vacation here and just have a little holiday in the snow. But anyway, moving on from that and actually getting back to talking about what I'm actually doing right now. So as you can see, I'm just going around and I'm just doing a little bit of landscaping for this build. Now, I'm going to say, if you place down this build in anywhere other than the world of Mount Komorebi in the snow, the landscaping might look a bit sketchy. Now, the reason for that is because where I'm building in the snow, everything is kind of out of season. I don't even know what colour plants I placed down for the landscaping. I was just trying to place down something that looked like it had some remaining of leaves, because when you're building in any weather that's not the summertime, you really do notice a difference in terms of the bushes don't really have any leaves on, there's no flowers, half the trees look like they're just falling apart. Like, it's cute and I love the look of it, but it was quite difficult to landscape because I ain't got a clue what colour the flowers are going to be in this lot. What I might do is, before I upload it onto the gallery, I might pop it into a different world like Willow Creek or Oasis Springs so I can actually see the landscaping, because it might look a bit iffy. But I mean, it fits in with the world of Mount Komorebi. And the cool thing about the world of Mount Komorebi, if you're not aware, if you don't have the season expansion pack but you do have Snowy Escape, you can still come to this area of the world and it will still have snow on the floor. Like, the snow doesn't disappear. You know, if you're, say, in the world of Brinton Bay, or if you're in the world of Willow Creek and you're in the winter season, there is a massive like snowfall, there's all snow on the floor, your Sims can go and make snow powers outside, and then eventually it will kind of like dry up, and then, you know, how seasons work. Well, in the world of Mount Komorebi, that doesn't happen. This will always consistently, even if it is like a heat wave outside, there will still always be snow on the floor. So in terms of landscaping, I wasn't too fussed that if I was using like bright pink or bright red flowers, because they're out of season, you can't really tell anyway. But yeah, I will check it before I upload it onto the gallery to make sure there's not too many vibrant coloured flowers in the landscape. I don't think there will be, but there might have been like one or two like red flowers that might have creeped in, which, to be honest, wouldn't even make that much of a difference. One thing that I wanted to focus on when I was landscaping, you see these really green ferns that I've kind of placed on the edge of where them rocks were at the front. I tried to place down a load of them in the landscaping because the majority of the stuff that I was pulling out of the building bio catalogue, it was just out of season. There was barely any leaves on it. It was really difficult to kind of make look like a little landscaped area. But that one fern, I love the look of it when it's got snow on, because it's pretty much the exact same as what it would be in the summertime. It's just got a little bit of frost over it and it looks really pretty. And so I placed down loads of these different ferns just all around the lot, and it makes the lot. I also tried to do a similar thing with grass clumps, because again, this is one of the very few landscaping items that I found in the catalogue that actually kind of held their colour, because you can see at the front of the build where I've got this kind of landscaped area, it just looks like a mush of loads of different out of seasons plants, and they're just all kind of like mushing together where they are just all white. And so I was trying to find these different clumps of grass that kind of had different bits of green in it, and just it broke it up a little bit because it was just so harsh having just one colour of like grey mush as a landscaping. So that was another thing I tried to focus on in the landscaping. But as well as that, on the exterior I placed down a ton of different rocks, because where I'm building it in the world, there ends up being kind of like a mountain cliff kind of behind it. There's also a rock climbing wall quite literally neighbouring this lot. So if you don't want to get your Sims to go skiing or snowboarding, you can get your Sims to level up in their rock climbing skill, and it is directly next door to this lot. So that's another thing that your Sims can practice when they come on holiday. But over here you can see that I'm just starting on focusing on this little like porch area. Now, I was trying to be mindful when I was building this, I was trying to be mindful of your Sims wallets, because whenever you build rentals, you have got to take into consideration Sims will actually pay to come here per night, and if you place down like loads of different things, loads of different activities, and loads of expensive stuff as well, it's going to cost your Sims some money. And so on the exterior, I was trying to be really mindful of, right, don't spend too much money, because poor Sims who got actually paid to come on vacation here. You can't have a vacation lot that ends up being like 10,000 simoleons per night. I mean, you can, but that's for your very rich and famous Sims. I wanted this to be a little bit more of your everyday kind of family or everyday kind of single Sim who come on vacation here. And so on this exterior porch bit, there ends up being, I think, a little chess table, a seating area, and then there's also this little meditation area as well in the corner. I tried my best to make it feel as like zen as possible. So I placed down like a little fountain behind it. I placed down some stones. I placed down like a little like incense so your Sims can burn it and it will like let off all these lovely fragrances. I also placed down, and I often do this whenever I do meditation areas, there is this bottle that we got from the Jungle Adventure game pack, and your Sims will basically use it when they go into the jungle. If they want to have a quick shower, they'll just put this bottle of water over their head and it will kind of give them a shower. I like placing it down next to little meditation mats because to me it just looks like a regular old bottle of like Evian, or I can't even think of another water bottle brand, like Smart Water. It looks like a bottle of water, and so I placed it down next to the little meditation stool, and it just looks a little bit more realistic. But then, as well as that, on the exterior, one thing that I placed down, which I was quite happy with and quite proud of the idea, I basically went through the live edit menu for the world of Mount Komorebi and trying to find things that you can find in and around this world that I could place down onto the lot to make it look like it blends in a little bit more. And I found this kind of like little hut. Now, I've used it before whenever I've done builds in the world of Mount Komorebi. I think you find this particular hut, you know, when you get your Sims to go on little walking trails, I think it's placed in the walking trail somewhere, but basically I found it in the live edit menu. I placed it down at the front of the build, and I basically placed down this snowboarding kind of like decorative object that looks like you could store all your different skis and all your different snowboarding equipment within it. It matched it perfectly. It looks like the little hut was made to kind of like house all of these skis. I think it was a small thing, but I was really happy with it because then I also placed down like a little bench on the opposite side, and then your Sims can go in there. It looks like they can put all their skis away and they can just sit on the bench, and maybe that's where they sit on the bench and they do all their ski like stuff up, like their ski boots. And I don't know, I don't ski, I don't really know the ins and outs of skiing, but I want to ski one day. That is on the to-do list. But you know, when people get ready to go on the slopes and you like put your boots on, you put your gloves on and stuff, there's kind of like a little bench opposite this little area where you can place down the little snowboards and skis. It's a small little detail, but I was really happy with that, and so I thought I'd mention it. But either way, besides the point, as you can see, I've now moved on into the inside of the build. I started off by doing the little entrance hallway, and now I've moved on into the kitchen. Now, for the kitchen, I basically wanted to use these snowy escape counters because we got them with the expansion pack. I wanted to use this fridge that we also got from the expansion pack, and I wanted the woods to kind of like match on the counters. But the slightly annoying thing about them, the ones that we got from the Snowy Escape expansion pack, they're like shelves. So you know, normally when you place down a counter into a build and it'll be just like a fully like fleshed out counter, there'll be little cabinet doors, and sometimes if you place an end piece there might be like bits of pottery or china in the end pieces, and normally you can just place them down and, you know, Bob's your uncle, you're good. But the thing is, the ones with Snowy Escape, they're open shelves and you're meant to be able to cluster them up and place down loads of different like bowls and like the odd plant and loads of different jars on them, and it's great if you're working in small spaces. But I find that I don't really often go towards these counters because half the time I don't really love having loads of clutter inside of the counters. I also like it to be out on the counters, kind of like out for decoration. And so one thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to try and find something to kind of cover up the shelving units on some of the portions. And then the other reason as well is I wanted there to be a sink. And as I was placing down at the sink, I was looking at it and I was thinking, realistically, if you're going to have a sink, you're not going to be able to have open shelving units underneath it because you need an area for all the different like pipes and all the different plumbing to go with the sink. And so basically I tried to make it look like the counters were actually closed, and I tried to find something to cover over kind of like this open shelving unit to make it look like it was a closed shelving door. Basically what I did is I found this chopping board that we got from the Cool Kitchen stuff pack, and I rotated it so it's got no scratches on it, because the cutting board originally, when you pull it out the build and buy menu, it's got loads of different scratches and loads of different marks as if your Sims have been like sharpening knives on it. But if you flip it around, there's like a side that's completely like blank and there's none of that. I basically flipped it, scaled it up, and then it deleted the wall so then I can merge in this chopping board into the cabinet, so then it looks like it's the cabinet door. Luckily enough, the woods are pretty much the exact same, and then I basically created like a little cabinet door to make it look like, instead of having all the counters being completely open, some of the counters are closed and then some of them are open. And then that way as well, where the sink was, there wasn't like open shelving units underneath. It looks like there would be actual plumbing underneath the counter where the sink is, if that makes any sense. I'm well happy with that because I thought that was quite a smart thing to do, because realistically, if you're thinking, if you've got a sink in your kitchen or something, you don't have like empty counters or empty space underneath it, because you've got like the area going through the counter where the kind of like the bowl of the sink would be, plus then you've got all the different pipes, and realistically you're not going to be able to put a sink onto an open counterpiece with shelving units underneath, and I just really like the look of it. I was quite proud of that one. But then on top of that, to make it look a little bit more realistic, I wanted there to be some little handles. So I found, I don't even know what it is, it's kind of like this wall decoration. We got it from the Island Living expansion pack. I sized that down really small, made it look like a handle, and then I also found this little pole, which I think the one that I ended up going for was from the My Wedding Stories game pack, and I think you're meant to place it down onto like different posts if you're having like lights connecting to a post or something. I don't think I've ever used it before, but basically I wanted there to be like a separator in between the different cutting boards to make it look like it's not just one absolutely massive cabinet. And so I sized down this little tiny pole. I rotated it because the top of the pole had a little bit of like rope on it. I rotated it so you couldn't see the rope, and then I placed it down in between the cabinets in where it looked like a natural kind of like crease of the cabinet would be, or like a little bit of a natural edge to a cabinet door. And then that way it was kind of like a little handmade cabinet door. Hopefully that makes sense, but I was really happy with that. And so yeah, I just wanted to explain that just in case you wanted to do something similar in your own builds. If you don't ever use the Snow Escape counters for that exact reason, you can just find stuff to kind of like mask over it. To be honest, you don't even have to use the cutting board that I use. You could probably use like a wall decoration or a photo frame or just something to cover up that empty space, because you might notice as I was doing that little area, I was kind of like flicking through the wall decoration category and the different like photo frame category, because originally I was just going to place down the back of a photo frame and just like spin it so you couldn't see the actual photo. But luckily enough, like I said, the actual cutting boards were a pretty much exact match to the colour of the counters, and so I just used that one. But if you don't have the Cool Kitchen Stuff Pack, you could probably find so many different wall decorations to kind of like cover it up. It's a handy little thing that I thought I'd note. But anyway, besides the point, moving on from that, as you would have seen in the kitchen as well, ends up being quite a small little sweet kitchen. Like I said, I was making this and I was building this with the intent for it to be for maybe like a small family of 4 or maybe like a couple. So you're not going to have like a massive kitchen. It's quite a small little cozy kitchen. It's also got a hot pot in the kitchen. There is also a hot pot in the little dining room, which you've already seen me do. The dining room itself, I did place down the really big, I don't even know what it's called, but you know the table that's on the floor and it's got them really comfy little seats that your Sims can go and sit on. I placed down the bigger version of that because I was thinking, or say for instance you do come away with just your small family of 4, what about if they meet their mates, or what about if they make friends with someone on the slopes and they want to invite them round for tea or something? And so I placed down the bigger one, and it also just filled out the room really nicely as well. But now, as you can see, I've moved over into the separate lounge building, which sounds really weird, but basically the way that the floor plan worked out, there wasn't really enough space on the inside for there to be an actual lounge on the inside of the house. And something that I've noticed through going through various different like Pinterest photos and Google images, and I'm pretty sure it was something that was in some of the builds originally in the world of Mount Komorebi before I bulldozed them, is sometimes you can often find like little outbuildings. And so I wanted there to be an outbuilding anyway. It just worked out perfectly pretty much that there wasn't enough space on the inside for there to be a lounge. And so on the outbuilding, I just decided to make it into a nice little cozy seating room. In there we've got 2 3-seater sofas, a little like tea set so your Sims can brew some tea. There's also a fireplace. There is no TV because, again, going back to, I was really trying to be mindful of your Sims pay per night when they come here. And so if I build this rental and it ends up being like 100,000 simoleons, your Sims are they're gonna have to shell out a pretty penny. And so I was definitely trying to be mindful, and one of the things that I decided to not include in this rental is a TV and also a laptop or a computer, which I feel like is not the worst thing in the world anyway. If you're coming on a skiing or snowboarding holiday, I feel like you're more so gonna wanna go out on the slopes rather than sit inside and channel surf, because your Sims can do that at home. And so I didn't think it was the worst thing. Of course you can add a TV in if you want to. There is like a perfect place above the fireplace. You can just replace the little paintings that I placed down and just pop a little like flat screen TV up there. But yeah, I was trying to be mindful of the budget, and so there doesn't end up being a TV. I actually have no clue how much money this rental will cost per night. Like, there isn't actually a sum that's come to my head that I could assume that it would be, because I could say that I assume that it's going to be X amount of money, but then I could be completely off. So I actually I don't have a scoobers of how much this would actually cost per night. But what I'll do, I normally do this for all of my different rental builds that I do anyway, but in the video description for like the build details, I'll type out how much it is per night for your Sims to come and stay here, just in case you're curious. Because I mean, I've mentioned a few times in this video how cautious I have been about your Sims budget and how much it will cost us like vacation here. And so if you are curious, I will place it down in the description box just in case, you know, curiosity is getting the better of you. But anyway, besides the point, getting back to talking about what I'm doing right now, as you can see, I've just now moved on to the upstairs portion of the build. Quickly just did the little hallway on the upstairs portion that ended up being like a little side table, a bookcase, also like a little mirror. But now I've moved on into the bathroom. It's actually quite funny. Well, I mean, I think it's quite funny anyway, because I'm calling this the bathroom and it's quite literally a bathroom. It is a room with a bathroom, because like I said, I was trying to do like the traditional way of how Japanese bathrooms are laid out, where you have a separate room for where like a bathtub would be and a shower would be, and then a separate room for where the toilet and the sink would be. But when you say bathroom, normally you think of like all of it in one, but this is quite literally a bathroom. It's a room with a bath in and a shower. But I am so happy with the way this bathroom turned out, which normally bathrooms aren't exactly the most fun things to normally decorate, I find anyway. Personally, I find that sometimes bathrooms can get a little bit repetitive because there's not too much that you can do style wise with them. But for this bathroom, like I said, I feel like it ends up being so romantic, so cozy, and just, this is like one of my favourite bathrooms that I've ever done, which sounds really just strange to say, but I'm really happy the way it turned out. What I actually initially did was I was researching different traditional Japanese bathrooms, and something that I found like on Pinterest and Google is a lot of the times they'll often have like a bit of a stone around the bathtub. And originally, I'm not going to lie to you, originally I did place down like a pebble flooring into that room off camera, because normally I always do my wallpapering and flooring off camera. If you've been watching me for a while, you probably know that by now, you probably clocked onto that, but it takes me so long to decide. And originally I placed down this like little pebble flooring into the bathroom, and I was going to stick with it, but then I kind of came back to the build with a fresh pair of eyes when I came in to furnish it, and I was looking at it and I was thinking it just doesn't look right. And so I decided to use a mixture of two different floor patterns in there. I use like a normal tile and then the same wooden floor that I've used throughout the rest of the build. But then something that I did to kind of be a little bit of a nod to traditional Japanese bathrooms is I use this bathtub. It's from Seasons, but around the actual bathtub itself, it's kind of got these little tiny stones, like these tiny little pebbles, and it made sense because I was going to have a pebble flooring anyway, but then it just looked a little bit too much when I came back in with a fresh pair of eyes, and so I decided to change it. But then that way you still have like the pebbles around the bathtub, but it's not just all spread out over the floor. It was just something that I thought I'd mention because it was something that I found when I was researching like Japanese bathrooms and stuff, and I just thought I'd mention it. But yeah, in the actual bathroom itself, it ends up being the bathtub, which is from Seasons, and then a base game shower, also merged on like a little shelf onto the bathtub to make it look like a little bath tray. I think I placed down maybe like a candle onto it, and maybe like a book. I think I also placed down a mug, but I think the mug would either be on the actual shelf itself or the little side table behind it, because I was thinking, or maybe your Sims have come in from a day of snowboarding, they want to have like a nice bubble bath, and they want to have maybe like a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or like a hot chocolate or something in the bath. And so I used one of the like the clutter decoration pieces that we got from the Everyday Clutter Kit, which is kind of like a singular mug, either on the actual initial tray itself or on the little side table behind it, to make it look like your Sims are just sitting in the bathtub or laying in the bathtub and having a drink or something. But then now, as you can see, I've moved over into the bedrooms. I just did like the main bedroom itself, which ends up having like a double bed in there. It also ends up being the wardrobe, which is from the Get Together expansion pack. I use the big one, which I never have enough space to use the big, like the 4 tile wardrobe, but for this build they just end up being a perfect amount of space for it. But now I'm just going into the last bedroom, which ends up having 2 single beds in. It also ends up having like a wardrobe, I think a mirror in the corner, and then that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or you can just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedboarding video. Bye guys.